So one of the moderators in my Discord donated this CPU to the channel, and I have had it for a really long time, so I figure it's time to do a build around it. Now the CPU that he did send me is a 5600G AMD AM4 socket CPU. It does have 6 cores and it includes integrated graphics for somebody who doesn't have maybe the extra money to go ahead and buy a dedicated graphics card. Now this is a fairly decent CPU for, low-end, mid-tier type systems, but you can increase the performance of this CPU by adding a graphics card so that you don't have to use the integrated graphics that come with this chip. And I've had this thing for, a while now, maybe 6 months or so, and we have never used it. But today we're gonna put this thing back to use because this thing's been sitting in my closet for a long time, so we're gonna design a computer around this donated CPU here. Now I have something really special planned for the computer that we are going to be building with this CPU. So I need to make sure that the build that we put together today is really, really great and it performs really, really well because, as I said, it's a special PC. You're just gonna have to stick around to figure out why it's special. Now obviously we have our 5600G CPU, but this CPU needs a place to call home, so I had to get a motherboard for this CPU. Now I looked on Facebook Marketplace and I really couldn't find any boards that were for sale that I liked for this build, so I actually went out and bought a new board. Now AM4 motherboards are becoming harder and harder to find because AM5 is out and most manufacturers are focusing on making those motherboards, but you can still find brand new motherboards available for a pretty decent price. Now I do have this Asus Prime B550 Plus motherboard right here. This will be a very nice home for our CPU here, and I think it'll look good and it'll match the build. Now we've got our CPU and our motherboard is looking pretty good. I think that the next thing that we need to talk about is the RAM and the storage. Now this board does have 2 M.2 slots, but we are only going to be using one of those M.2 slots. So I did get a 1 terabyte Silicon Power NVMe. This is plenty of fast storage. Where are the standoffs on this motherboard? Just one second, the standoffs aren't attached to the board, you have to attach them yourself. As far as the RAM for this build, I have quite a few different options available right now that would fit this build really well, but there's really only one option that would fit this build perfectly. Now, a few weeks ago, I did an episode and I took some RAM out of the original system and I didn't use it for the final product because it wasn't going to match the design of that build all that well, and I've been saving it and trying to find the perfect build to use it in, and this is it. Now, the RAM I'm talking about is this Aorus RGB Ram right here. Now, this is DDR4 3200 megahertz sticks, and this silver right here with the silver here and the RGB, I think this is just, you can't really go wrong. So let's go ahead and let's install our RAM and our SSD so we can get this board all finished up. Now our motherboard here is pretty much done. The only thing that we really need to do left is to figure out what we want to do about cooling this CPU. Now, a 5600G CPU, you can use a stock cooler for that CPU and be just fine, but you guys know me well enough to know that I would much rather spend $20 on a tower cooler and get a little bit better cooling and a better look than use those stock coolers. Now, when it comes to this CPU, AIO would definitely be overkill, but this is a board that can support 5000 Ryzen chips, so you could realistically go out and buy a 5900X or a 5950X and throw that in here and get way better performance, but you would need way better cooling. And because I want to create the ability for people to upgrade this in the future if they want to, I did go out and buy another one of these beautiful Aqua Elite AIOs by Thermalright. I love this CPU cooler. Now, what we're gonna need to do, let's just go ahead and get the mount. Let's get this thing mounted up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just remove the mounting hardware for now, and then I'm gonna put the AIO to the side. Now, I've seen other people who enjoy putting the AIO on the motherboard before they put the motherboard into the case. I don't like doing it like that. I'd rather put the mounting hardware on the motherboard, install the motherboard, and then go ahead and install the AIO wherever I want, and then just attach the pump head to the CPU while it's in the case. I find that to be a much easier way to go about things, but you guys can do it however you like. I just don't want to mess around with an AIO while I'm trying to screw down the motherboard. By the way, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks, and the reason is I got super sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice at all. But I actually was having a real hard time breathing for a little while, but hey, I'm back up. We're good to go. We got builds to do. Plus, we finished the Build Up Challenge Season 1.5. I have all the stuff. You're gonna love it. Something I love about these Thermalright AIOs, they're so easy to mount, way easier than most. I just installed a different CPU cooler on a very special computer, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that thing was a pain in the butt, and that's supposed to be like a way more expensive, way flashier AIO, and this is way easier to mount. All right, so now the mounting hardware is on, just double checking that everything is tightened up. And now, we can move on to the case this is going into. Now the case that we are going to be using today was actually sent to me by Darkflash. This is their DS900 case, and it's following alongside of the popularity of like that fish tank style PC, where you get like the full view of everything inside of your system. I love this look. And more case manufacturers are, you know, they're utilizing this design. And I think that this is kind of what you're finding is like the new standard rather than the traditional style PC, where it's 3 intake fans, 1 exhaust fan, and then all of your components inside the system. Now this case is a little different as it's got like this little stair step here. I've never seen that before, so that's gonna look, I think it's gonna look pretty cool once we get some fans in here. Now, they sent me this case to build in to see how well I liked building in it. So after we finish putting our system together, I'll tell you how good it is. Now this is a mid-tower ATX case, meaning you can put a full-size ATX motherboard inside of here, and it does come with 4 included ARGB fans. And something that I definitely think is unique about this PC is that these are actually reversed fans. So this is not running as exhaust, it is running as an intake already, and I love that. I love that case manufacturers are deciding to include the reverse fans. If this is going to be the new standard of how PC cases are going to be, then I don't need these back fans to be exhaust. I would prefer them to be intake fans, and I love that they made them reversed so that you don't have to take them off and flip them around like I do with 90% of cases like this. Now I do have one small issue when it comes to the fans inside of this case, and that is you can't purchase more of these fans. I had asked Darkflash if they could send me some extra fans so that I could make sure that the entire build matched, because I really enjoy it when all of the fans inside the PC are the same to kind of make sure that the build looks cohesive. But they told me that they don't sell these fans outside of the cases, which is something that I think that they definitely need to look into, because the case fans inside of here actually look really cool and have a unique ARGB kind of layout to them. And I would have really liked to just slam this case full of those fans, but unfortunately you cannot pick up more of those fans. Hopefully in the future, Darkflash will, add these fans to, their Amazon store or wherever, so that we could purchase more of them if that is something that you would want to do. But let's go ahead and mount the motherboard in here so that we can move on to the next item going in here. So we've got the motherboard installed inside of our case here, and now it is time to go ahead and mount our AIO in there. But we do need to make some changes because this AIO does come with 3 included ARGB fans, but they don't look anything like the 4 fans that are included here. Now, like I said just a minute ago, you can't find these fans anywhere else, but we could find fans that were similar to these ones right here, and I did look around and I did find these 2 boxes of ARGB fans. It says black on them, but they're actually white inside, and they don't look exactly like the fans included in here, but they're pretty close. Plus they have like the infinity mirrors and stuff like that, and we're gonna see how those look inside of the system. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to add 3 of these to our AIO here before we can go ahead and mount these inside the case. Now with the addition of our fans here, this PC is coming together so well, and I cannot wait to see what this thing looks like when it's completely done. Now, there are a few more things that we need to add in here in order to make it so that this build is a good gaming PC, and one of those things is a power supply, because we're not gonna get very far if we don't have power. So I went through my closet and I did find a 750 watt EVGA power supply that's gonna fit this build really well, because we are going to need a little bit of extra juice, because our graphics card that we're going to be adding in here is pretty much the strongest graphics card that I would ever pair with a 5600G CPU, and that is this RX 6700 XT right here. This graphics card is like, there's like top of the line of what you can add to a 5600G, and then there's the 6700 XT, just a little bit above that. But this is a very strong graphics card, and it's definitely going to be a lot better than the integrated graphics in that CPU. But the only problem is it's dirty, and it doesn't match our build. So let's change that. And with the addition of some white cable extensions, this right here is our final product, and I think that you'll agree that this is one very clean looking PC. Now, I did use a product that I have never used before, and that is these infinity mirrored fans here. I've never used these before in any other build, and the only reason that I really went for them this time was because the RGB that is on the top portion of this fan, it matched the RGB on the included fans in this case. Now, I would have, like I said before, I would have much preferred to purchase more of the included fans, as I think that they look very cool, but these definitely match pretty well, and it gives a unique, a unique design, something that we haven't done on the channel before. And honestly, once you see this thing on, I think you'll agree that it's a very bright and very unique looking PC. Now, some of you might be curious on how well the 6700 XT graphics card pairs with a Ryzen 5 5600G CPU. And let me tell you, this system did not disappoint in our gameplay testing. So starting in Battlefield 2042 at an ultra preset, this system was getting us an extremely beautiful 82 FPS on average with buttery smooth gameplay. Jumping into Blood Hunt with a max preset, this awesome system was getting an average of 127 FPS. Trying out something a little bit more demanding, I tested Helldivers at its ultra preset, and an average of 74 FPS was what we were getting. And for the last game that I played a little bit of Gotham Knights at max preset, and this shiny white PC was getting an average of 125 FPS. And the gameplay looked so good on this system that I actually kept playing for a little while, and I actually ended up beating the game. So who's ready to see this thing turned on? Because out of all the PCs that I've built, this might actually be the brightest PC out of all of them. So let's roll a little beauty montage. Now let's talk about this DS900 by Darkflash for just a second. This case does something unique that I have not come across yet, and that is these 3 reversed fans in the back. Out of all the cases that I've built in, and I've built in a lot of this style case, I've never had any of them come with reversed fans. Now this is extremely popular. This whole full view fish tank style PC, it's very, very popular right now, and I don't see it going anywhere. And generally people use this back section here as an intake to bring cool air into the PC. Now with these fans coming reversed, it makes it look way cleaner, and you don't have to flip the fans or see the back of the fans. I love that they did that, and I hope more companies start doing that. Now, something that I do think is kind of like an acquired taste is this like stair step that you get here where the power supply shroud cover is. You don't typically see that. Most of the time, the power supply shroud cover runs the length of the PC, and that's where you'll hide your hard drives and your cables and everything. But on this one, it cuts off, and then it has like a little stair step, and underneath this fan here at the end, underneath that little ledge where you mount the fan is where you would put a 3.5-inch hard drive. So the idea, I believe, is that you would have a fan there to keep your 3.5-inch hard drive cool. But with the I mean, most people are moving away from 3.5-inch hard drives and they're using M.2s, and you know, if they're not using an M.2, they're using a SATA SSD. So I feel like that's a lot of effort to make something unique when the functionality is kind of on its way out. But if the look is something that you like, is something a little bit more unique, something that you don't see from most other manufacturers who make similar style cases, then, you know, go for it. I mean, I don't think it looks bad. Now, something to note about this PC case, if you're going to use this case, I would use a shorter power supply. Now, the reason I say that is because I used an extremely long power supply in this build. And because this power supply shroud cover cuts off and it doesn't run the length, it shortens up the amount of space that I had to tuck away cables and to try to make things manageable in the back of the case. And that can get a little frustrating. I definitely had a more difficult time cable managing in this case than I have in a lot of other cases. Now, if I would have picked a shorter power supply, I would have ended up with more space underneath this cover to try and tuck things away. But it is something that you're gonna run into. You're gonna run into cable management issues if you use a large power supply like I did, because you don't want to hide your cables underneath this area here where your 3.5-inch hard drive would go. Now, even if you don't have a 3.5-inch hard drive, because it is perforated and you can still see through the front here, you don't want to see all those cables. So you really have to use this cover here to hide most of your cabling. Now, I did tell you in the beginning of the video that this computer is actually really special, and we're going to be using it for something very important. And I'm not gonna tell you what it is in this video. Don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. I'm not gonna tell you in this video, but that's the perfect reason to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss why this computer is important, because it is going to be making an appearance in a video that is coming really soon, and I don't want you guys to miss that video. So if you're not subscribed, now's the time to do it. Now, I did want to give you guys a quick update on the Build Up Challenge Season 1.5. It's done. We are completely finished with Season 1.5, and I already built the computer. I already bought all the things. The computer is built, and it is right there, and man, you guys are gonna love it. I can't stop looking at it. It's probably the most amazing thing I've ever put together, and I can't wait to show it to you, but that video is not out yet. So once that video is out, I'll launch it. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But like I said earlier, please make sure you are subscribed so you can find out what we are doing with this PC right here, as well as make sure that you don't miss the grand finale of the Build Up Challenge Season 1.5. It's going to be absolutely epic, and I can't wait to see you guys there. I also wanted to say thank you to all of my channel members. You guys are awesome, and for everybody else watching, no matter where you are in the world, I hope that you are having the most fantastic day. And I'm gonna see you right here for the next episode.